We take on the darkness, stare down deceit. Murder in the headlines, justice in the beat. From cold case whispers to killers in disguise, we rip off the mask, expose all the lies. Facts like bullets we load and deliver. Truth cuts deep like a blade in a river. Corruption shakes when the mic goes live. We dig where others won't survive. Games rolling through the smoke. Truth hits hard, no time for a joke. Deceit, murder, we name every name. No restraint, no shame, just flame. Locked on the case, we investigate.
This is 12 Gauge Investigative. Let's jump in.
You'll ever need 12 Gauge Investigate. We make them bleed. No games, no censors, just truth. Justice is loud, and we're the sound. This is 12 Gauge Investigative.
All right. How's everybody doing on this Thursday night? Man, this thing going slow for some reason. Anyways, my name is 12 Gauge. Welcome to my channel, 12 Gauge Investigative. I don't know why that part of my arm is cut off, but okay. So, we're live, right? GM? How you doing? Oh, I know why it's cut off. It's the microphone. Can you still hear me? And I guess she is bitching again. I don't know. I mean, I heard a little bit that there's some document that came out, and I thought that I'd go over those and we'd see exactly what's going on. Like I said last night, hadn't really been keeping up with this, but okay, that's better. Oh, light's not blinding me. Jesus. I moved my computer over here to a different location so I could get my other computer so I could use it for something else. We're going to go over an interview too. Idaho.gov. Let's kind of wait for people to mosey on in here. I don't know if notifications are going out or not. Did you get a notification? Dates response. Okay, there it is. My eyes bother me today for some reason. So I'm waiting for people to come in here. You didn't get a notification, Rondi? That sucks. I'm glad you're here. Both of you. Because we're going to go over these. Let me turn my camera off. At least till my eye stops hurting. Okay, that's not the one I wanted. Jesus. I'm all over the place with this tonight. There we go. No wonder people aren't in here yet. I wonder what the hell's going on with the notifications. Like my whole My whole setup was all messed up. Sounded like somebody else I know. I don't know if she did or not. Like I said, usually people start filing in. But if Rondi didn't get one, I don't know. Did you get one? You got one? Okay. Other chats have had the same problems. Okay. It says the state's response to coalition of media organizations motion to be heard as interested parties in motion to vacate the non-dissemination order. Basically, this is just a motion to to get rid of the gag order, and before I read this, I want to know what y'all think about the gag order. Give me a little bit. Give me give them a chance to get in here. Tell me what y'all think about the gag order. Has it worked? Has it been more of a hindrance? What do you believe? Good evening, JB. Something weird is going on. Y'all can still hear me, right? Making sure that I got sound. What do y'all think about the gag order when it was issued? Before I read this, give people a little bit of time to get in here. The gag order festered all the conspiracies and spawned pro-burger psychos. Okay. I just don't get why they kept it on so long, especially the longer that this went on. You know what I mean? So it says, comes now the state of Idaho by and through the Latah County prosecuting attorney in response to a coalition of media organizations motion to be heard as interested parties and motion to vacate non-dissemination order. The motion, as set forth below, the state will not oppose the motion. So basically that's saying that they're not going to oppose it, that they're cool with getting rid of it. Hey, Leslie, thank you for being in here. So that's what that basically says. It says the defendant pled guilty on July 2nd, 2025 to all charges in this case. At the change of plea hearing, the court asked the parties for their position on whether the non-dissemination order in this case should be maintained. The state requested, and the court granted the request for the non-dissemination order to remain in effect through sentencing. So the state requested that the gag order stay through sentencing. But now they're going and saying, hey, we're okay with it being lifted because at this point there's nothing that it could hinder in this case. Let me put out an announcement on Discord. Maybe people will get that. Upon further reflection, the state withdraws its request. Now that the defendant has pled guilty as charged to all 5 counts of the indictment, his right to a fair trial on the issue of guilt is no longer an issue. But we know that, he pled guilty. So let's get on with it. Nevertheless, out of the respect for the integrity of the judicial process and the privacy of the victims and their families, that they consider their right to provide victim impact statements at sentencing, the prosecution team does not intend to make any public statements about the case until the sentencing has concluded. Respectfully submitted this 14th day of July 2025, William W. Thompson, Jr. So that's that one. Let me go ahead and get to the one with Ann Taylor, because I think she had one also. Okay. That is Annette. That's the attorney. Hold on a second. I'm getting this for you guys. Let me see. These are the media ones. Yeah, these are just the media ones. I heard Anjanette talking about that, but where is it? I don't see that on this one. I don't know where she saw that, but I remember. Okay, I remember her talking about Ann Taylor um, not wanting the dissemination order lifted until at least the trial. I mean the sentencing, or even possibly after that. Whoa. Well, I don't understand that. I don't understand that at all. Do y'all understand that? Do you understand the purpose of that? These lights are bright, bro. I don't understand the purpose of that. But it is what it is. Hopefully he grants that tomorrow. Hopefully he says, we're going with the states. They're the one that just stated that they want it lifted. So we're going to lift it. Well, I don't know if y'all were able to see um, Cara's short that I read earlier, but it didn't get a lot of traffic. And I think it didn't get a lot of traffic because of what I put on there. Um, and there's a reason I put what I did, because I talked to her before I made those shorts. Okay? I made those shorts, but I asked her, I said, would you like to come up on panel? Or would you like to, or do I have permission to use your interview so that people can see your testimony? And she told me, she said, I'm really not comfortable yet. I have a lot going on. I was a nervous wreck during that interview. But you're more than welcome to use my my interview from CBN. And I think that the reason she chose this outlet to utilize rather than like mainstream media or something, because this is a Christian broadcasting network, and you know, so I told her, I said, I'm gonna make sure that I include in there um, your testimony and the spiritual aspect of it. So I think a lot of people aren't really into the spiritual part of it. So therefore, you know, they didn't want to really hear what she had to say because most of this testimony is about her transformation. So here we go.
Cara,
And just to just start off by saying it's very difficult whenever you're first starting off in recovery. That is Cara Kernodle. That is Dana Kernodle's mother, John. She is she did an interview with CBN. Um so it looks like she had a strong support behind her. And that is amazing, I think, that she went from that interview with News Nation, how she looked in that vehicle, to how she looks right there. That is amazing. That is amazing, the transformation. And the fact that she's giving all her strength to God, that is a hell of a testimony, in my opinion. And I think that people are not going to jump on this because of that. Because there's a lot of people that are non believers, and the last thing they want to do is talk about an individual such as Xana, his mom, who made the transformation through the hardest point in her life. You know what I mean? So I've heard a lot of individuals talking about we got robbed because we didn't go to trial. He didn't go to trial. He pled out. We deserve to know. We deserve to know. No, nobody deserves to know, Jack. They really don't. Um, and the brief conversation that I had with her, she told me that she's focusing on what's going on right now with her recovery, with everything that's going on with her transformation, because the first 5 years are the hardest. The first 5 years are the hardest, you know, and I agree that the family deserves to know, but I don't deserve to know. I don't deserve to know. None of the other creators deserve to know. Nobody in the chat deserves to know. Now, if they want to release all that once he's sentenced and give the family that, then I'm 100% behind that. I really am. It's like I don't deserve to know anything. She deserves to know everything. That was her. I like that part that she said there. And I want to start by saying something, okay? Because I know we have a couple people in the chat that have lost family members. I've lost family members as well. So I can't sit here and say I know exactly how they felt or what they're going through. Loss is different for everyone. You get what I'm saying? Loss is different for everyone. You grieve different. The way she chooses to grieve is her prerogative. The way Stacy Chapin and her family and her husband have chose to grieve, That's their prerogative. The Laramies, how they choose to grieve, that's their prerogative. The Gonsalves, all these four families, including the Kobergers, how they choose to grieve this whole process is their prerogative. I told her, I said, you are so brave through all that you've been through. You are a huge testimony to anyone who wants to get clean and stay clean. You know what I mean? Well, you can disagree if you want, but I mean, we don't deserve to know shit. I mean, you can disagree if you want, but we don't need to know anything other than any more than she does. And I'm going to stand by that, you know? I'm going to stand by that 100%. It is public knowledge, I understand that, but you know what? It wasn't any of our kids. It wasn't your kid. It wasn't anybody in this chat's kid. It wasn't anybody in the true crime community's kid. It was her kid. And the way she's dealing with it, it is amazing how she's dealing with it. I know it's not private. I understand it's public. But it's not our right to be in their business every step of the way like people have been. You know, all this stuff about how they've had to deal with protecting their identities, protecting where they work, protecting how they go about life. I mean, she was an active drug addict while all this, you know. Well, that's what I'm talking about, John. I don't know what you're talking about, but that's the part that I'm talking about. I'm talking about her, how she said she wanted to know, but then she kind of, as this interview goes along, she's going to tell you that it's more than just knowing what happened to her daughter. Well, let me tell you this. If she's okay with it, then I'm okay with it. If she's saying she's all right with it, the other families are okay with it. I was never that emotionally invested in this. And I know a lot of people were emotionally invested in this case. And they refuse to let it go because they feel that there's no closure. The individual, including yourself, should know that, does it really matter the people that you locked up and they ended up either facing the death penalty or getting plea deals, which more often than not, they probably got the plea deal. Is it your job to see the process all the way through just because you became emotionally invested in it? I mean, we're going to disagree on this one. I'm not going to go with you on this one. I'm sorry. You know, but that's good. We agree to disagree. We are talking about the case. I'm talking about her transformation from her addiction to where she's at. I'm talking about that. You are talking about the case. I'm talking about her transformation, what she's commenting on, not what I'm saying, what she's commenting on. You know what I'm saying? It's like, but in reality, you know, I'm not against what y'all are saying. But how many serial killers and murderers have they been in life? And we still don't know. We're not any closer to dissecting exactly what makes these people tick the way they tick. I mean, that's a good way to say that, Texas, but how many criminals have you been around that you actually could get into their mindset and say, well, if I ever see a guy like this again, I'll know exactly to warn people about people like that. I mean, I get y'all's point, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about her spirituality. I'm talking about her transformation from a drug addict to who she is right there on the screen. She says she's okay with not knowing. And that's all I'm saying. If she's okay with it, then, what, how am I going to go against that? You know what I'm saying? I mean, this lady has had her name dragged through the mud been accused by so many creators of being the reason that her, not only her daughter, but the people in that home were slaughtered. Everything that she has had to go through in life has been questioned. Her addiction, her choices, not being in her daughter's life at times, all this has been questioned. But still, look at the product that we're seeing in front of us just for today. And that's all that anybody has is just for today. And that's what I'm talking about right now at this moment is the testimony that she has to give. I mean, if I was struggling with drugs, if I was struggling with grief, if I was struggling with any of those things, and I knew her story, man, can you imagine how powerful that is to know that somebody at the deepest, darkest level in their life, addicted to drugs, alcohol, and everything that she was doing, she went to prison, got back out, and this is the end product at the moment, just for today? That is powerful. That is powerful. And that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about Koberger. I could give a damn about Koberger. Really, I'm not. I'm talking about the family right now. I'm talking about her journey because I asked her permission to do this. If but I wanted to do it in a reflection of who she is today, not to focus on the drug addict, not to focus on the person who lost her daughter because she's not there. Why am I going to take her story and keep it right there about the piece of crap that murdered her daughter? I mean, that's not what tonight's about. I'm sorry. And if it's, if I gave you that impression that that's what we're going to do, I apologize. If you don't want to listen to her story, I get that as well. I really do. No disrespect either way. Okay? I just want to show her story because it is huge. And if you can't see that, I can't convince you of that. And I think that many of us, if not all of us, have been there before, unless you've never had a real understanding or whether you don't believe, and that's okay too. This is not a religious show. This is not about religion tonight. It is about Cara's story. Many people have often asked, I wonder if she's ever going to speak. I wonder if she's ever going to tell her story, how she went through the process. I wonder what she went through, all this, that, and the other. And here she's telling it. But it's not the way that people want to hear it. They want to hear the broken down woman who's still struggling to get past her daughter's death. She's found peace in that. She's found peace in that. And she's telling you how she does it on a daily. Whether that works for you, whether that works for me, whether that works for 10 people down the street. It's neither here nor there. It works for her. And we know the viciousness of this crime. I'm refusing to talk about Koberger anymore. He's taken a plea. He's going to plea. If we never find out what happened, at least for myself, I'm okay with that. If you want to find out, I'm sure there's plenty of true crime channels that are going to blast every little piece, every little piece of information that they can continue to find about it, and that's okay. But I am leaning toward the side of putting closure for the families. This is their justice. But nobody wants to give them that. They still want to see the broken down people. They want to see them fail or whatever. I mean, I don't think everybody does, but there's a lot of people that want to see people fail. Like that's why I said, just for today, this woman is doing the deal. And she's went through hell to get here. Another victim family member talking about her process during the worst time of her life. And we want to talk about Koberger. Who cares for now about him? I don't. Not tonight. I want to focus on this woman's journey. because I told her that I would represent it in a way that she's presenting it on the screen. And that is a huge one she's talking about. The act of forgiveness means that you don't speak about it anymore. You let it go. And at that point, what she's talking about, it's hard to let go of something this emotional, this tragic, this saddening, all of it. But as she's talking about her spiritual journey at the same time, in the recovery process, you understand that you hang on to any of that, it's going to tear down your sobriety. It's going to tear down your spiritual foundation. You're not going to be able to move on with the life that you're wanting to have. I heard a mother talking about losing her daughter, and she made a statement in another case. She said, you know what? I'm going to stand up and I'm going to look that person right in the eye, and I'm going to tell them exactly how I feel. He's not going to make me his victim. And I thought that was, some of that stuff, it's like, wow. That is amazing that these women gather that strength to move on with life. Because I know a lot of people can't move on. They will not move on. They say that they heal, they say that they grieve, they say that they do whatever, but they still battle with that on a daily basis with anger, contempt, all these things. And all it does is just kill them internally. Like I said to my class today, and we were talking about anger management, and I said anger is like you swallowing poison expecting the other person to die. So whenever, you get angry at somebody, you're sitting there swallowing that poison, expecting them to die. But who's really going to die in the long run? You are. It's about self-care. And that's exactly what she's talking about right now. Way to go. Wow, is all I can say. I'm not crying. I've had issues with my eyes since I started this live. Yeah, exactly, Jeff. Exactly. Like I said, it doesn't matter to me if you're a believer. I know I'm a believer. I've taken the same journey Cara has taken, and I know it works. And I know it sticks with you if you really believe and do the work on a daily basis. That's why when I see people so full of anger and so full of hatred and contempt, where they're unrelentless, they're so jaded. I ask myself, what is keeping you so bound with all that hatred? I know what it is. You know? I know what it is. And one I heard a long time ago that the greatest cause of people walking away is other Christians. And I thought to myself, at that point, I didn't believe like I do now. I didn't believe what I do now. At that point in my life, I didn't have any understanding of what a higher power than yourself and that bad things happen to good people. Because, like in my addiction, I used to get told all the time, just pray about it. Just pray about it. It's going to get better. Just pray about it. Give it to God. Well, at that point, I didn't have an understanding of a God of my understanding. I knew what other people's God was, but I didn't have an understanding. It had to take me getting my own understanding before I could even understand any of the process of recovery or restoration. You know what I mean? It's evil's out there. Evil is out there for sure. And I've heard that as well, Leslie. I've heard people tell me that argument. Well, how does God, this God of your understanding, allow innocent babies to get killed? And I asked the pastor that one time. I asked my sponsor that question. And they told me everybody has a story that is written. And kind of like Cara said, sometimes we don't need to know in order to protect us from how we would handle that. And I know that doesn't make sense, and it doesn't make the events that happen excusable. I know that. I know that. But at the same time, evil's all around us. Evil's all around us. It's kind of like if somebody told you, if you believe in God or you believe in Jesus Christ as your Savior, your day is going to be much better from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep. Are we perfect? No. Am I perfect? No. You see some of the shorts I posted today? It was full of cuss words. It was full of all this. But that's my personal relationship and my accountability to my higher power, not yours. You get what I'm saying? I'm not trying to convert anybody. I'm just trying to say that my own personal journey, I would have never found my higher power had it not been for recovery. I wouldn't have. You know? I wouldn't have. And I can tell you now when somebody tells me to pray about it, I pray for understanding. I pray for the other person because no sin is greater than another. These individuals that do this type of stuff are evil. And I can almost, I mean, if God can still love them after what they do to other people, we will never understand that kind of love. Never. Because we can't. We can't. And I'm going to tell you, David, the man after God's own heart, betrayed him more and hurt God more than he ever. And this was the right hand man. And God still never gave up on him. But that's what we have in these chat rooms. We have believers and we have unbelievers, and that's okay. Like I said, I don't know all the answers. I just know the answers that work for me. You get what I'm saying? Well, the fact that Brian took a plea, that is getting rid of him. We don't know what his journey is. We don't know if his journey is to see the evil that he did and ultimately convert him into somebody who might bring them to Christ. Because it's not always about the rainbow. It's not always about the miracle. It's about the passage that gets you to the miracle. And many people don't understand that. If you're watching for the first time and you're struggling with your journey, I would suggest that you start reading in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Those books right there, you start right there reading, and it will simplify a lot of the questions that you're asking today for yourself. The anger, the strife, the depression, the anxiety, All the questions that you deal with on a daily basis. Why is there so much bad in the world? They're facing a tsunami in Alaska. Well, God's not a superhero. He's not Superman. He's not going to fly it down here and protect everybody. But he is protecting you even when you don't even realize it. Because, like I've always said, 1 second too soon or 1 second too late, so much can happen in that time frame. You get what I'm saying? I'm not trying to preach to anybody. I'm really not. I'm not trying to preach to anybody tonight. I'm just sharing my own story. And I shared Cara's story because I don't believe that people really put as much understanding of the hard work that it takes to get there. You only see the product tonight, the product today. You didn't see all the time she was crying in her cell for her daughter. Hold on a second, guys. We don't see all the times when people are at their lowest, having this and that happen, just trying to make it. But I can tell you this, and I'm witnessing for myself here. I've tried every way under the sun to make things work better for my life. And I'm going to tell you straight up, nothing worked until I was able to let go of my own ego, my own self-image, my own gratification, and put everything at the cross. And I know that probably worked. Then there's a lot of people that understand that, but there's a lot of people that don't. And I understand that, Leslie. You're okay to be who you are. I could never make it make sense for you. I couldn't. You know what I mean? I can't make it make sense for you. Because the one thing, that anger, that angst that you feel, when you recover from that darkness, you understand that that's not of something that you want to be a part of in this life. You have that understanding that you don't want to live in that darkness anymore. You don't want to live in that lack of understanding of self, of who you are, what you're really made for. Because this life is so quick. Right. I like that, Kel. I like that. I like that. I'm going to play another video because I like this individual's take on this. And I talked to JB, and a lot of people might not like him. And Detective John, I didn't block you. So if any of you timed Detective John out or blocked him, please unblock him because I did not block him. I don't have a reason to block anybody. I don't have that kind of anger going about my heart right now. I don't. I mean, I'm trying to do things the way that I know to do them, not the person that I created on this platform. I'm 12 gauge all the way around, not just when I'm behind the camera. And a lot of times people don't understand that. They think that you should be a certain way, and that's all you are. You're nothing more, nothing less. You know what I mean? And that's not true. It's not true at all. Let's see if I can find it. I mean, he's going to say it in layman's terms. Here it is. I'm giving this credit to JB Gunner. He doesn't really cuss in this, I don't think. So, you know, if he does, that's who he is. You know what I mean? It doesn't negate the fact that there's still a message. Let's listen to it.
All right, now this video is not going to be long. I want to make some things clear. By the way, this is JB Gunner, and this is Crime Time. And today, I want to give my apology to the families of the Idaho 4, to many of the people that, unfortunately, had heat come at them from the internet true crime community because some people don't know how to act. Anyways, I wasn't one of them, but I got lumped in with one of them, and I want to elaborate on that a little bit here today. Let's go ahead and get on into this. Let's do it. What's going on, everybody? As you guys know, I'm JB Gunner, and this is Crime Time. If you guys want to support the channel, hit the links down below. Thank you to the Gun Squad, the people that already support the channel and make this possible. Listen, I watched the entire series on Amazon. And as you guys know, I've done almost 300 videos on this case. For the first 2 years of the Idaho 4, I was an innocent until proven guilty guy, because that's just the way I approach cases. So, to me, as I'm following this case, playing Clue, putting the pieces together to the puzzle, about 6 months ago, when the Amazon knife order came through, that's when I began to, and in fact, that day, I said, now I believe Bryan Kohberger is guilty. I still didn't think that they had enough evidence to convict him in court. And I still, to this day, other than his own confession, think it would have been a difficult case to prove at court. A lot of circumstantial evidence, things of that nature, right? This wasn't a slam dunk case on either side. The true crime community has basically been divided into two different groups, guilters and pro-burgers. I guess if you look at the first 2 years, they would consider me a pro-burger, which I never considered myself a pro-burger. I felt that I was always an innocent until proven guilty guy. I'm a constitutional guy. It's just kind of the path I took. Well, most true crimers, they did the bootlicking. They just followed the path of the police, right? There was a few of us that said, hold on. Let's take a look at all this. Now, within that community, who was called the pro-burgers, we have different types of individuals. Someone like myself, who just sits here, sees some facts. I don't try to get involved. I don't try to go to the Moscow, Idaho. I don't try to go fuck victims. I don't try to reach out to victims' families. I'm just a news guy. Anybody that knows me from any of my
I took it the other approach. Maybe this layman term will get your attention in a different direction, because what he's about to say is so on point. It is so on point.
Content, my other channels knows that I'm a commentary guy. It's all I do is see news. I'm not even a true crimer. I'm a news guy that provides commentary on news. And it just so happens that this particular case was one of the cases that fits into the true crime category. Other people, though, however, who claim to be innocent until proven guilty, I began to look at them and see a little bit of retardation. Basically, despite me being a conspiracy theorist, I was seeing the conspiracy theorists in them, and I was seeing how conspiracy theorists like them make conspiracy theorists like me look bad. I'm a conspiracy theorist in the sense of I know about false flags. I know about Operation Northwoods. I know about the Gulf of Tonkin. I know about the USS Maine. These are conspiracy theorists that believe that 4 kids in Idaho is some major grand conspiracy using tunnels and all kinds of and white and the Aryan Brotherhood and all kinds of goofy shit, right? And listen, I'm not going to name the creators I think everybody here knows the group of 5 to 10 big name creators that pretty much exist on in this plane. We know who I'm talking about. And the reason I'm not mentioning the creators is because some of them are reasonable people, and I like them, and I'm actually shocked to see them go down this path. However, the rest of them,
that's the truth. At least he's being. You're talking about, this individual. He was there for a long time, like you said. He was on that other side, and for whatever reason, it's going to get to what he's going to say. But there's no, like what he says toward the end, nobody's doing it. Nobody's doing it. There's everybody out there today reading books, tearing apart documentary, docuseries, all this stuff. Like he says, he apologizes to the families and everything. Like, at a certain point, and maybe let me explain this to you guys. This is how I think, all right? I use motivational interviewing in everything I do with everybody I meet. I meet you where you're at, not where I want you to be, not where I feel that you should be. And that keeps me in the process where I don't expect anything from you other than what you're giving me. You know what I mean? I don't expect anything from anybody other than what they give me. So, if he changes tomorrow and flip-flop tomorrow, start talking bad about whoever, then at that moment, then you can, I can change my mind about this person. But for today, whatever the purpose of him doing this video, he's doing this video.
Labeled them snack cakers, the goober tubers, if you will. I've labeled majority of the audience who thinks from that train of thought also snack cakers. Now, what I mean by that is a bunch of, fat women sitting at home eating snack cakes, watching true crime, and instead of just believing what they see, they believe that everything's a conspiracy theory. The snack cake crumbs is essentially the trail of the true crime goober. Now, what is a true crime goober? It is so.
Well, John, are you being contrarian tonight? I'm trying to keep this in a positive light. I don't know if you have something going on. I don't know if that's just how you think, how you believe. There's nothing wrong with that. But, you do understand that this is my platform, so I can say and do as I wish. If I want to praise him tonight, that's my prerogative. If I want to praise Koberger tonight, that's my prerogative. The fact that it makes you feel a certain way, that's on you. That's not on me. And that's all I'm going to say on that, bro. Lighten up a little bit. It's just a show. It's not the end of the world.
Someone that thinks every case is a action mystery, an Alfred Hitchcock mystery, and that nothing that they're being told by the mainstream media is real. Now, no one is more critical of mainstream media than me. However, when you're seeing documents, when you're seeing court filings, when you're seeing the media talk about shit from a factual basis, it's really weird to think that everything is a conspiracy, everything you're hearing is fake. And what this is a symptom of the internet. Ultimately, people forget that there's real families. There's real people. So when these people start throwing accusations that people like Hunter and other friends and family members and roommates, and I've done it myself, I've questioned some shit or even some people with Steve Gonsalves. When they start doing this, they fail to realize that person that they're talking about is another human, and they fail to say, well, what if I'm wrong? What effect is this going to have on them? What effect is this going to have on Steve Gonsalves if I say that if I implicate him in these murders, or I say that he's doing something wrong? What effect is this going to have on Dylan if I'm calling her a tranny and saying blah, 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 and saying she's involved, or Bethany or Hunter? or the fraternity boys. How many times have we heard?
Because to be fair, a lot of people went after these people relentlessly. We can all agree on that. And they're still going after them. Tonight, there's people on right now that are planning their little theories and their little conspiracies. They're not saying what he's saying. I'm not praising the man. I'm saying he had the balls enough to sit there and say he was wrong. You don't always have to be right. You don't always have to be right. You know what I mean?
You heard people talk about the frat boys. They blamed every single person in this case except for the man that said he did it. Now, about 7 months ago now, I began to change my position. And I said, as I'm looking at...
Well, contraire, John, nobody knows that better than yourself, right? When somebody disagrees with you, I've seen many of your shows that you go after them in the past. So you can say what you want. You can say what you want. But you know what? I handle people disagreeing with me a lot different than you do. I don't sit there and go after them nonstop. You get what I'm saying? And, I don't really give a fuck what you got to say. You're trying to trigger me, and you're not going to do it. Either get out of my show, like you used to say, or step in line. That's as plain as I can say it. You don't like it, you don't have to watch it. But don't type out paragraph just because you got to show your masculinity. Because it's not needed here. That's not this kind of chat. All you're doing is disrupting it, and I don't appreciate it. So you have your opinion, keep it in your head. I don't need to hear it. That's all I'm going to say. And if you continue, you will be blocked because I don't deal with people like you. Okay? That's all I'm going to say.
The evidence, the circumstantial evidence, is starting to pile up, and my gut tells me that Brian Kohlberger did this. He ordered it's not as much as the...
You can go to Tommy Jude's or any of those others and start shit tonight. They'll entertain you. I'm not trying to be about that tonight, bro. So we don't need to puff out our chest and try to show the chat that we're tougher than everybody else because you know what? This is the internet, and that's what this guy's saying. I don't agree with criminals. I don't side with criminals, and you know that. And you know that. You know that wholeheartedly. You know that.
Kohlbergers will tell you that it's normal for people to order K-bars off Amazon. It's actually not. The average person doesn't even have a K-bar. The average person doesn't even know what a K-bar is. It's a military grade knife that your average civilian typically doesn't have, doesn't even know about. And that's just the truth. There are a lot of country people and rural people that do know about them, that do have them. But it's not if you look at the population of America, most people didn't even know what a K-bar knife was. It's the truth. So it's really strange. It was really strange to me that this person...
You have a channel. Go fire it up right now and go live and talk shit about me. I don't care. Go do it. Go fire it up. You still got a channel. Go live. Go talk shit about me. Go talk shit about JB. Go talk about shit about Kohlberger. Go do it. I'm sure you still have your subs. Does that make a hill of beans about anything, John? Does it really? Does it really? You still got that channel. Go fire it up. Why wait? You're going to wait for the trial. Why wait till then? Because there's not going to be a trial. Go fire that bad boy up right now and talk shit. I'm sure everybody will flock over there to listen.
Who wasn't a hunter, also wasn't military, purchased a K-bar knife and had it sent to his house. Now, obviously the K-bar knife is important because of the K-bar knife sheath under the body with Brian Kohlberger's DNA. Now, I understand it was touch DNA. I understand that it's not the most reliable shit in the world. And that's why even when I heard about the DNA, it didn't sway me. But when he ordered the knife and then looked for a replacement after the murders, and yes, I believe the paperwork, I said to myself, well, you know, it's all coming together now. It's all coming together. My gut tells me he did this. I still didn't think under any circumstances he would plea out or even be necessarily found guilty. I just didn't think there was enough evidence. But I realized after he pled guilty and all of the goober tubers and the snack cakers continued down the path of he's innocent. Now, this is some conspiracy. They said the same thing in Delphi, Indiana, that Richard Allen was being forced into confessing. We got the crime circus guy writing love notes.
Let's get to the good part.
Messages sending, all because a group of people doesn't want to admit that they're wrong. I call crime circus shit propaganda. I don't know what the fuck is going on with Harsh, and I'll leave that up to him. I think Harsh is a good dude, so I'm not going to cast aspersions on the man. But clearly, Brian Kohlberger is guilty. You know how I know? Because the motherfucker said so. Just like Richard Allen in Delphi. Nobody admits to these types of, and I know so many of you are gonna be like, yeah, so you don't think anybody's confessed it, they haven't done. The numbers are low, and nobody's doing it with 4 homicides. Stop it. This isn't some grand conspiracy. This is a simple act of Brian Kohlberger deciding he wanted to be Ted Bundy, wanted to be a serial killer, and I can relate to that because there was times in my life where I thought the same exact thing. Kohlberger acted on it. Kohlberger got caught because Kohlberger got sloppy. Kohlberger knew that. He knew his life was on the line, and if he wanted to save his ass, he at least needed to say, okay, I did it. This isn't actually that hard of a case. We've made it hard through all the jumping through hoops and weird shit that we've done because we didn't have anything else to do because there was a gag order. So people began to speculate and guess. I want to apologize once again to the families, the victims, the friends, the town of Moscow, not necessarily for me, but for my colleagues. They terrorized the fuck out of these people. JLR terrorized the fuck out of these people. All the YouTubers that got in their little car with their little fat fingers and drove to Moscow, Idaho, terrorized this group of people. And I find it absolutely disgusting. And I feel sorry that I ever contributed to that in any way, even though all I did was sit in this desk.
And there you have it. He just goes on and on and on, and y'all can go watch that video if you like. But he just, it is what it is, right? It is what it is. I myself am glad that this case is ending. When he pleads, when he does what he does, on to the next, right? On to the next. Because there is going to be a next one. And the same stuff's going to happen. Just like it did with Kylie Rodney. Just like it did with Gabby Petito, Summer Wells, Stephen Stearns. All those cases. It's going to continue on. Continue going the same direction. So, you know, the only thing that's certain about future behavior is past events. And like I said last night, you know, people don't change that quickly. And you can't get somebody to see your side, especially if they're set on seeing it the way they want to see it. And for whatever reason, that's them. That's people on the internet. That's people in real life. That's people at your job. That's that's the guy who sacks your groceries. Whatever. Hell, I work with juveniles, and they don't see what I'm talking about because to them, it's a total generational difference between the stuff that's going on today and the stuff that I dealt with whenever I was their age. You know what I mean? And but do you just throw your hand up and give up? Do you just throw your hand up and say, you know what, we can't make a change, we can't make a difference. Let's just lock them all up. Granted, some of them do need to be locked up for a very long time. I've never once sided with a criminal that I believed that had been guilty. Not once. And I won't. If you look at my channel, it's all about individuals that did what they did and they deserve what they got. I don't know what makes this dude so special that people get so riled up about it, because he wasn't a criminal mastermind. He wasn't a genius. He wasn't all this that people have tried to make him be. Otherwise, he wouldn't be where he's at, would he? Because if people are really that good, they don't get caught. They don't get caught. So if he was that great, he would have never got caught. But the fact that he did, that plants all the seeds in people's mind that there had to be a conspiracy. No, the police were just that good. The police were just that good. But the fact of the matter is tonight I wanted to show you, and if you're watching this on replay, I wanted to show you Cara's transformation. I wanted to show you, about the ending of this case as it's going to play out. The way it's going to end out. It might not be the way that anybody wants it to be, and that's okay. That's okay. But, like I said last night, there's some emotional attachment to people to act the way they do regarding these cases. And I did have a comment that this is a platform. You're right. I do have a platform. But my platform's not to spread hate and anger and angst, and that's not what I do, Because if you've forgotten what my job title is, I'm a therapist. I believe in change. I believe that people can change. Whether you believe that or whether you believe that people will stay the same forever, that's your approach. But, to be fair, some people act worse than Koberger could ever be. Some people act just as unstable as some of these other killers that we talk about. If I saw you on the road, if I saw you in the grocery store, are you one of those people that go off on people in public and show your ass because you're not getting your way? Or are you cordial? You just do that on the internet. You get what I'm saying? Like, I just don't get it sometimes. I don't. But one thing I do want to tell you, don't mistake my kindness for weakness, because I'm not weak. Just because I don't go back and forth with people and want to argue and fight and all this other crap, it doesn't get you anywhere in the long run. It doesn't. Not on the internet. Now, if you were in front of me, that'd be a whole different story. But it still wouldn't get us anywhere. Because you know what? After the fighting's done, you're going to call the cops. I'm going to get arrested. I'm going to jail because most people, that's how they want to get even with people. They want to get them in trouble. You know? We're supposed to be civilized at this point. You know what I mean? We're supposed to be civil. We're supposed to not handle things the way that people handle them online and in real life. We got better things to work towards in this world than fighting and tearing it down. You can be angry, that's your prerogative. I never said you can't feel the way you feel or you can't disagree with me. But give me that same right. You know, if you can disagree with me, then I can disagree with you. You know, that's how it works. It's a two-lane highway. But I'm not talking about anybody in the chat today. I'm talking about people on YouTube because there's a lot of them. There's a lot of people on YouTube that do not give you the benefit of the doubt to be able to have a conversation on a two-lane highway. They don't. You know? They don't. And I do understand the whole concept of a lot of the creators that have criminal pasts. And I understand how you can, like I said last night, I can see right through a lot of people's grift. I can see through a lot of people's manipulative tactics. I see through it all. Just because I don't speak on it all the time doesn't mean that I don't see it. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Is like I'm I'm just not blind to the fact that there's only goodness in the world. But I'm not jaded at the same time. I was jaded at one point. I was very angry, and I did believe that exactly what people believe today. And like I was talking about Cara earlier, about going through that hell, to that process of transformation. We all have our own battles in life that we face. No one's is worse or better than the other. But I can only speak on mine, and I can tell you it was hell getting to this point in life. And I refuse to ever let anybody or anything take me back there for one moment. Do I fail sometimes? Of course I do. I failed tonight. You get what I'm saying? But John knows that, that's just guy talk. But I really wish he would fire his channel back up because it's needed for some other people. It really is. And if he went after me, what could I say? What could I say, really? I mean, would we really get into a back and forth like I saw other creators do? No, it's not going to happen. Not on my end. Like I told the juvenile today, the best way to end anything as far as conflict is say, you know what? You might be right. And walk away. Leave somebody fighting with themselves because if they're that angry, nothing you say is going to get through to them. You get what I'm saying? And once again, I'm not talking about anybody in the chat tonight. I'm talking about YouTube in general. We have to do something different. Otherwise, why are we on here? If we're on here to argue and fight and this is an outlet for that, then don't call yourself true crime. You get what I'm saying? I'm off of JB. He's not on the screen anymore. He's gone. Okay? But what I'm saying is, there comes a time. There comes a time when either you bind together or you fall apart. And as much as people want to divide themselves on this platform, I'd rather just stay over here in my own little corner and speak my own truth, whether 500 people come in or 3 people come in. I started that way, and I'll end that way. And no matter what another creator thinks, he didn't help me to get to 1,000. I did that because I kept showing up, hoping that somebody would want to hear what I had to say. You get what I'm saying? I'm not going to show that person. I've never showed JB on here. This is the first time. This is the first time. That doesn't mean I'm in love with the dude. You know what I mean? I try to be very positive on my show. I really do. That's why it doesn't have 1,000 people in here every night. Because nobody wants to listen to that. It irritates them. They want to get all their angst out in these chats. That way they can deal with life once they turn the computer off. That's why they don't kill their spouses. That's why they don't drink themselves to death. That's why they don't quit their job, because the internet gives them an outlet. I'm not stupid. I understand it. It gives you dopamine release. Not stupid. Whatever works for people, let it work. Until then, and until next time, y'all take care of each other. And try not to take life so serious, because you know what? We all could be gone in a blink of an eye. Maestro, cue that music.